Afternoon, friends. Thank you for joining us today on the Seven Pillars Talk Show, where we really dig into the 7 pillars of building your unbreakable life. You know, those 7 pillars are the 7 pieces of a journey of creating and establishing a life that's sustainable. And we start with self-discovery, and then we move on to our mindset and our mind shifting moments. From there, we go into our beliefs and whether those beliefs are ours or somebody else's and why we believe what we believe. From there, we go into trauma and defining moments. Finally, we make it to health, which we're going to spend a lot of time talking about today. Get excited. I'm excited about this particular pillar today. Number 6, we're going to talk about community. And then 7 is purpose. Well, every week we have an opportunity to hear from one of our pillar partners, friends that are out there helping you build your unbreakable life. And today I'm excited to introduce you to Dr. Brittany and her significant other, Josh, who have a lot to say about this particular topic. So thank you for joining us tonight. And please meet my friends, Dr. Brittany and Josh out of Austin, Texas. Hello, hello.
Hello.
We're
Thanks for
so
having us.
excited. Yes. Look, I know our viewers and you guys, we are like at this pivotal moment in time that I feel like something is about to change
Yes.
in a big way.
Yes.
And maybe for the first time in a long time, we are having some hope when it comes to the health of ourselves and of our nation. So, Dr. Brittany, please jump on in, introduce yourself. I want everybody to know about your practice and what it is and how you're helping people get ahead of the curve with their health.
Awesome. So I'm Dr. Brittany Hines, owner of Ahead of the Curve Chiropractic, which was established in 2012 in Dallas and has been here in Austin for the last 2.5 years. And I help people get ahead of the curve with spinal degeneration. I'm a certified spinal hygienist, the only one here in Austin, Texas. So that's kind of my niche. And then beyond that, I talk about how to get ahead of nutrition, ahead of toxins, ahead of fitness, ahead of stress, and ahead of relationships, which I just added this year after watching The Secrets of the Blue Zones.
Yeah, love it. Love it. And Josh, tell us a little bit about you.
I manage production at a custom boat exhaust shop. We developed a product that takes your exhaust away from the boat, so much so that it gives you a fresh air coming out of it. So,
Yeah.
but been passionate definitely about health and fitness and just educating and kind of the theme of the night, spreading hope, about it all. And it's been wonderful getting to know Brittany as I have and getting to learn about, her passion, and my passion definitely aligns pretty well. And yeah.
I love it.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, we're so I am so excited. I know we've come off of something very big for the last couple of months. Our whole nation has been wondering what's going to happen to the future of our nation. And particularly everybody was looking at the political climate as far as president and all of that. What people haven't been looking at for a long time, in my opinion, has been the health of our nation. And one of the things that I was doing literal cartwheels over, as soon as we saw the numbers start coming in, was the opportunity for us to take back our power as it relates to health. And I've been working actually with Dr. Brittany for almost a year now. Surprised how time flies so fast, right? And one of the things I love about going into your location is all of the education that you have. And I know you talked real briefly about the blue zones, but health is a priority, not just because you're a chiropractor, because you're passionate about it. It is like your jam. And so as I thought about, where we're going and the hope for our nation, for our own unique individual health, I immediately thought about you guys. And I want to hear your thoughts around what this looks like and potentially the hope that we have as it relates to how we may become empowered to be better stewards over our health, and really what's been going on health-wise that maybe not everybody's aware of.
Yeah. So first off, we really were excited to do this podcast, and I wanted to bring Josh with me because he's just as passionate about this stuff and well-educated as I am. He, if not more so, he listens to podcasts all the time. And, we were following RFK Jr. And so I've been sharing with my patients, whatever side they're on, we can all agree that health is important, right? And that's always been my platform.
Bipartisan issue there.
Right? Absolutely. Absolutely.
you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, RFK Jr. was Democrat, then was running for president as a libertarian, which is where I find myself. You do you, I'm going to do me. Right. But now we're excited that he finally has a position where we can potentially make some changes. So we do have hope now. So anything you wanted to add to that?
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And the main thing to me is, where they say knowledge is power, and it truly is. I mean, if you can make an informed decision, and, especially on something like the food that we consume that literally makes us who we are and how we are, then it couldn't be a more hopeful, in my opinion, bipartisan scenario where we're talking about ways to empower us through knowledge to lead and experience healthier, happier lives. We all deserve that. All of us, Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, human.
Yes. I love that.
We need health. And it's crazy that RFK Jr. is the first person to bring this, I guess, to the national stage.
Sure. Definitely bring awareness to it. And, with the 7 pillars, health is pillar 5 for a very specific reason. There's things that we can do around being good stewards of our emotional health and our mental health. But if our physical health is challenged, we are limited. We are limited to doing the work that that we are called to do, right? We are limited to even have the clear thinking to do the work that we're challenged to do. We're even limited in creativity, which is a big deal, because if we are walking around with brain fog and all of those things, how are we going to complete the things? So, I know we've got a lot to cover tonight. I want to give you an opportunity to start with wherever you would like.
I think we both wanted to share just some statistics of where we're at as a country. So the U.S. Makes up just 4% of the world's population, and yet we make up 70% of pharmaceutical profits.
Wow.
We are the only country to directly advertise to the consumer. No other country does that for drugs. And in talking to friends of mine that were medical doctors going to the Super Bowl and watching the Super Bowl with MD friends, they all were frustrated by this, by all of the ads for these pharmaceutical drugs. They don't want patients to come to them and tell them what to put them on. They want to be the doctor and be able to help them the way that they've been trained. 50 to 90% of studies are funded by big pharma about pharmaceutical drugs. So there's a conflict of interest there. 38% of 12 to 19-year-olds in the US are pre-diabetic versus like 4.5% in Japan. 18% of teenagers have fatty liver disease.
Wow.
Which is something that should be, just alcoholics as adults, right? 7% of adults on the converse side are metabolically healthy. So meaning 93% are metabolically sick.
Wow.
We've had a 50% drop in sperm count over the last 40 years. 85% of people in their 50s in the United States have degenerative joint disease. So that's what I help with. We had the most pandemic deaths, the most chronic diseases, the most autoimmune conditions in the world, and now the shortest lifespan.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And I think so much, like you said, is pushed in your face, yet there's so many problems that create all of that, right? So we've got the pharmaceutical companies saying these are the drugs to be on. We are still living off of a food pyramid that I don't know when it was created. Do you know when the food pyramid was created?
I don't know exactly when you pointed at me, but
you told me the other
but no,
night.
we're
with their sedentary lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
They had recently actually revisited that, and I'm sure anybody that follows, the trending, news and stuff like that. But the best case of that would be where Dariush Mozaffarian, the dean of the Tufts School of Nutrition, who spent 3 years and millions of dollars designing a new food pyramid. In that pyramid, you'll find Lucky Charms ranked higher than steak.
It's And all of those things are just compiled and
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago, I had a doctor on who transitioned from being a medical doctor into a holistic healthcare provider because he said, I'm tired of seeing the same patients over and over. Not that it's the patient's fault,
Right.
but because all we're doing is band-aiding and creating a client instead of a healed nation.
Absolutely. The standard American diet creates standard American diseases, which then they have to put you on standard American drugs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I would say that just reminds me of, I would encourage the listeners to do a little research, if any of this interests them, but on Casey and Callie Means.
Okay.
Casey Means was head of her class, Stanford educated, specialist surgeon who on her 30th birthday put the scalpel down forever, just doing research, to parallel it to what we're looking at here. Things like 80% of medical schools don't require a single nutrition course, but 90% of our health problem costs are caused by the food that we eat.
Yeah.
So that reminded me of, they've been a huge part. Callie Means, they're brother and sister, but Callie Means is actually who, I guess, brokered the deal with Trump and RFK to give RFK the platform that he's currently got,
Wow.
So that just, it is happening out there, and those are two extremely credible sources. Callie Means actually was a lobbyist, like to the tune of like funding money from Coca-Cola to the American Diabetic Association. And, that led to like 20% of SNAP benefits are
junk food.
Well, it's Coca-Cola specifically.
Yeah.
Is 20% of.
Wow. And that's the food that we're giving, right? That the government is giving away to our families to maintain a lifestyle. Yes, under food stamps.
Keeping them sick and needing medications.
And that being said on that paradigm of it's okay, and the ADA or the American Diabetic Association, where that's diabetes water, to oversimplify it. And so to recommend that and let it be, 20% of the SNAP benefits going to that. But just to tie it back into Callie, that's someone who was bartering those deals, brokering those deals through, his position in lobbying. So when he and his sister both came together, from being Stanford educated, but just highlighting that, like 80% of the medical schools don't require any kind of nutrition.
Right. My friend who is a medical doctor in Dallas, I mean, she's an anesthesiologist. She had one class for 1 hour, one day, her entire med school career. That's all she had. So I tell my patients to go to a medical doctor and expect anything other than drugs or surgery, you are going to be disappointed because unless they have chosen to get out of that, which is hard to do, and they're, highly criticized if they start delving into nutrition, right? But we've seen some of those people, Dr. Mercola, I forget the doctor who did forks over knives. There are a lot of medical doctors out there that realize that they could help more people with food over drugs, right? To help them be healthier versus being sicker. And so I think it's important for our United States citizens to understand the difference between healthcare and sick care.
Right. No, I think that's a really good point. And, nowhere, you talked about this being a bipartisan issue. Nowhere should it be a situation that we're trying to keep people sick. But as Dr. Omar talked about a couple of weeks ago, there was so much money tied to that. But we are in a position now. We've been talking about doom and gloom. We've been talking about the current state of our health and the statistics, which are horrible, right? And you think about that and you're like, but what has caused it? Well, we can throw the blame on government. We can throw the blame on big pharma. We can, probably rightly so. We can blame it on what they're empowered through their education, but we also can learn about and get excited about the things that we can bring hope with. And so I want to spend the next few minutes talking about, okay, here's some credibility around the issue. Here's some things that we've talked about. And we're going to look at
Right. I want to pull up first and just say a couple of more things just
Please.
about, why this is an issue, right? And so whether you believe that we're sick because of our diet, because of our toxins that we're exposed to, fluoride in the water, vaccines, touchy subject, all of these things, whether or not you think that those are the cause, if you don't think that's the cause, then what is it? Like, it's really interesting for people to tell us, oh, well, we're definitely not under medicated. I mean, for sure, if we're taking that much of the world's pharmaceutical drugs, and big pharma, it's important to note, if you follow the money trail, big pharma pays doctors, researchers, politicians. They pay the FDA, they pay med schools, they pay lawyers, they pay lobbyists, they pay media, celebrities, big tech. So not trusting an industry that's financially dependent on you being sick doesn't actually make you a conspiracy theorist. It actually makes you, it shows that you're making critical thinking skills.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to note.
Yeah.
And why is RFK Jr. again the first person to care about this, to care about our chronic disease epidemic that is, affecting all of the children in this country? When we look at, it's the cigarette industry. Do you want to mention that? Do you want to talk about how the cigarette industry, things in the 90s changed for them?
I mean, you basically summed it up there, but yeah, the institutions that we trust, NIH, FDA, several of the 3-letter agencies, but they consolidated our food companies in the 90s. And so you had the same scientists that have successfully made, the tobacco industry what it is, meaning, making cigarettes extremely addictive. They were commissioned to create our food in that same light. And a lot of it has to do with subsidizing. So we're using taxpayer money to fund the creation of, I know genetically modified is kind of a, one of those things where it sounds, not credible, but look into it. But we're subsidizing that in our industry and then feeding it back to the people. And where there's 10,000 different chemicals in our food versus 400 in Europe. And, the burden of proof in the US to determine the safety of it relies on generally regarded as safe. And that's an industry that self-regulates. So it's kind of the fox will watch the hen house.
And that was interesting too. So today at the Unbreakable Luncheon, then I met a girl named Laura who's from the UK, and she was talking about how, when she moved here, she was pregnant and she was like, what am I going to eat? Because, the McDonald's here, she said, has 30 ingredients in a Happy Meal or whatever. And then over there, it's 13.
Wow.
So these companies, they know and they have the recipes to make healthier food, but we don't get it here. And why is that? Because they want us to be addicted to it because it was created by the cigarette companies. So they know addiction. So down to like what the wrapper on your McDonald's cheeseburger sounds like when you unwrap it. They've done market research to try to make that addictive to us. So
they call it hyper palatable foods.
Right. Ultra processed. So, I say if it's not, if we're this sick, but we have, all of this power, we have all of this technology, Elon Musk, with his rocket recently, like we're seeing all of these movements forward in all of these different areas. Why are we going backwards in our health? And if you look at the secrets of the blue zones, like I touched on earlier, that's what we should be studying. What are these people doing to live to 100?
Right.
What are they doing differently than us? Why aren't we following that? And so that's what RFK wants to do. So I want to show just a quick 1-minute clip of him kind of sharing some of his statistics.
Perfect. Here we go.
Americans innocently put into their bodies these days, and most alarmingly, into the bodies of their children. And it's no coincidence that Americans die earlier than Canadians or Germans or Italians or Japanese or Koreans or Australians or most any other comparable country. And it wasn't always that way until the early 1990s. Our life expectancy was the same or better than other developed countries. Then suddenly, more and more Americans began suffering from chronic diseases, from obesity, cancer, diabetes, kidney disease, Alzheimer's, heart disease, and all kinds of autoimmune diseases. Our maternal mortality rate soared to the highest of any developed country on earth. Same with infant mortality. Like the frog in the slowly boiling water, we didn't really notice as we got sicker and sicker. We've grown now to accept chronic disease conditions as normal. But now,
to accept chronic disease issues as normal. And I'm going to interject a personal experience with myself. So in 2022, I had been working with a life coach who had walked me through the journey of emotional health, emotional stability, really kind of going through this midlife crisis a little early because I'm an overachiever, I guess. But as I was working with her, she layered in, she says, Teresa, I want you to meet this person who's a naturopath doctor. And I really wasn't familiar with naturopath care, holistic healthcare. Like most people, I didn't go into any medical school. I didn't obviously go into chiropractic. So I had a very minimal understanding of health outside of what I had believed to be true based on what I was taught in school. You know, we go through health class in high school and it's half a semester. And to be quite honest, my health teacher was an overweight smoker. You know, we have come to a place, I think, as a nation where we have, because of the even leadership that we've had, we've treated our health as a second-handed glove that we might pull out every once in a while when our good one goes bad, as opposed to saying, wait a minute, my health is first class. It is a number one priority.
My health is my greatest wealth.
My health is my wealth. And that's what the naturopath doctor taught me. But one of the other things that she taught me in working with her is that what we put in us, just as she's going to be showing, continuing there, and we're going to talk about, will cause us to have other systems in our body that will shut off and or produce substandard cells.
Yes.
So, and that's where a big piece of the problem is. If we're putting junk food in our body and we're supposed to make a cell that's supposed to work at 100% optimum power, and we're now creating 30% cells because we're depleting ourselves by the food that we're eating. And I'm sure if we looked at the numbers, those other countries aren't taking near as many supplements as we're having to take as well, because their food is so much better.
Right. And our soil has been depleted. And so that's why I'm excited too that RFK Jr. has put in some regenerative farmers in office. Like he's already made changes to staffing for the FDA and the NIH. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, you are what you eat, right?
We certainly become it. And, you know, at that time I thought, okay, well, health will be a second. You know, again, I'm thinking about that second class glove that sat in the back of my closet as opposed to the one that I carry and work with every single day. But as I made small shifts with her and really started dialing into my unique healthcare, everything about me shifted. And that's the hope that I want to talk about today, is that, yes, we have the humongous support, and we're going to go into more details about that here in a moment, humongous support with this administration and their energy and their focus towards it. But we get to be stewards now. Yeah. And I know as we're talking through the podcast tonight, you do so much, Dr. Brittany, about helping people educate themselves around, you know, how to be good stewards of your health. And when I went to your office, it wasn't just a traditional X-ray, boom, snap, crackle, pop type thing. It was, I want to know what you're eating. I want to know what supplements you're taking. I want to know what your daily nutrition looks like for your physical body, your mental body, and your spiritual body. And so I want you to finish your conversation pieces around this, but I also want people to know that while we're waiting, right, while we're waiting for all of these other things to come, which we're hoping and believing for, what can we do?
I had one thing I want to add to that is not to speak for you, but something that I've observed that I really think is cool is being very direct on asking the patient, how willing are you to make changes? You know, you've got you've got so much potential in learning about what you could do, which is empowering for sure, for you to make the changes and experience, you know, a much higher quality of life. And how you were saying that translates from your mental to your creativity to your physical to, you know, just how you even interact with people. And it's, I feel like it's like a candle, you know, if I've lost my light and you're able to light that up, you know, with knowledge or with hope or, you know, being grateful about the things that we can do, I feel like then, you know, that's the spark in the human heart that really does, you know, lead to a synergistic effect among everyone else, but it starts with you.
Yeah.
You know?
Thank you for
that was
saying
one thing
that.
that I think is extremely important.
Yeah, I definitely want to empower my patients to make healthy choices. There's no quick fix for anything. There's no magic pill. I wish I could adjust people and they were magically better every single time, right? One and done. I would have to charge a lot more, but you know, it'd be amazing.
It'd be worth it.
Right.
Great
But
physician.
but now I have learned there are multiple sources of interference that we come into contact with. And so it's my job as an educator to, you know, not only educate people on the care of the human frame and prevention of disease in that arena, but also what they can do nutritionally. You know, a lot of times I do an exam and everything hurts, and it's because there's just chronic inflammation. There are severe nutritional deficiencies. There's a toxicity issue. And so, yes, I can, you know, stimulate the nervous system to help increase healing and action potential in the nervous system and reconnect the brain and the body. But again, if you're still putting crap in your body, if you're still exposed to toxins, let's say, you know, if somebody has Lyme's disease that they were exposed to, or if they have a mold problem at home, then I'm still adjusting them, but I'm not seeing them get better. And I thrive on seeing my patients get better. That's what I want. I want everybody to live their best life and to come in, you know, telling me about all the adventures that they're having, because they're living a life free of pain, but fully functional and fully in their purpose. And so that is the light that I'm trying to share with people. So, you know, whether, like I said, it's nutrition, if it's fitness, like I do sit down with some people. The last couple of weeks, I've had some older patients in their 70s and 80s, and I've said, okay, what's one change you can make in the next 6 months to be closer to health and keep moving towards it instead of away from? And, you know, some of them are like Mary Poppins. They're practically perfect in every way and can't think of a single thing that they could change. But most of us could drink more water or, you know, get up a little bit earlier, go to bed earlier, or sleep a little longer. It depends on what your stressor is, right? Because even mental emotional stresses, you know, those we hold in our bodies in different areas, or from COVID being isolated. You know, one of the secrets of the blue zones is relationships. Like I said, I added that this year because I recognize that as people lost their connections with other people in person, then their bodies were deteriorating.
Right. I think all of those things. I love that you say, what's one thing? One of the things that I love when I'm coaching people or even, you know, speaking at events is sharing the idea that our brain is designed, the minute we ask a question, our brain is designed to answer the question. And so getting people to ask themselves questions. One of the things whether you believe in this or not, doesn't matter. This is my truth, right? But one of the things that I did one time, a friend of mine was in a networking group with me and she was like, hey, I just learned about this hypnotic state kind of thing, meditation thing. I'm like, okay, well, that sounds kind of corny, but I'll volunteer. Anyway, in this state, she takes you to this real cool like meditation zone and you're just really relaxed, right? And she's like, now be prepared to ask yourself some questions. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. I like out loud or what, you know? And she's like, no, have some questions for yourself. And so one of the questions, so of course I was overweight at the time and I was like, okay, what am I supposed to eat? Like I was just playing the game, right?
Yeah.
The answer, meat, and plants. I mean, that was like legit meat and plants. It said, no, it didn't say Cheerios. It didn't say Lego my ego, right? All of those things. No chocolate cake, darn the luck. I'm sure somebody gets that answer. But, it was so simple. Like we overcomplicate things, I think, so many times. And you don't have to go into a meditation state if that's not your jam. It's not quite mine either. However, you can ask yourself questions and you'll find that most of the time the answer is already within you. Like we already intuitively know. I think the problem that we run into is that we have been told things enough times that we've started to believe it as normal, as natural, even when it doesn't fit, even when things are like, I don't feel like my tummy doesn't feel good when I eat that. But TV says it's okay. Right. And so we got to learn to, I think, listen to our bodies a little bit more. And I love that you mentioned, the blue zones. And if somebody wanted to become a better steward over their health, what's one or two pieces of advice that you might give them?
It's hard to narrow it down to one or two. But I mean, obviously, knowing that in this country, 85% of people have degenerative joint disease, people over the age of 50, but I'm seeing it more and more now, people in their 20s, that are coming in with what we call text neck or tech neck, because everyone's looking down at their cell phones all the time. Right. That's a big problem. So just holding your phone up and being cognizant of your posture. The posture is the window to the spine, which houses your nervous system, which is the most important system you have. It's the same system that created us in utero, and it's the same system that will control your heart, your lungs, and everything else in your body fighting off cancer cells, performing apoptosis. Your nervous system is the most important part. And a lot of people don't ever have theirs checked. So they don't know if they have interference there or not. So I would say the most important thing to me is making sure you have a fully functioning, communicating nervous system that's healing your body the way that it's supposed to.
Yeah. Yeah. Josh, you appear to be pretty athletic and you take care of your body. And I know with this partner by your side, you guys do things in a health conscious way. Is there anything you would add to that?
I mean, I'm not sure if this is directly answering it, but I just kind of, when you were talking about getting into that state and where your body kind of knows, like the focus being like some light on this situation, organic vegetables and fruits, grass-fed cheeses and grass-fed meats, like beef, like that's your way out. And so to focus on that, because if I'm not mistaken, your cells in your body on a cellular level, you're replacing yourself every 11 months. And so if someone right now is hearing this and thinking, okay, they use 6 billion pounds of pesticides, 70 million of that, is tartrazine, and 10,000 chemicals in our food, and 67% of kids' calories are from ultra processed foods, and high fructose corn syrup, is something that destroys your mitochondria on a cellular level, creating uric acid, which your body just can't process. So you essentially start to 3D print fat, around you. So, because I've listened to a lot of these podcasts, and one thing that made my thinking kind of turn critical was the answer out against all of these statistics is organic fruits and vegetables, legumes, beans, organic and grass-fed cheese and meat sources is your way to take your power back, to give yourself hope for the future, that from right now, today, in 11 months, you could re-blueprint, your future based on those things. And if these industries saw as much as a 5% revenue drop, they would pay attention and try and recapture some of that revenue. Sure, and so if we voted with our money, and, if we all collectively decided, I do deserve to live my best life, and it's possible, to do that, I would be in hot pursuit of that, as a hopeful and being grateful for, places to go. You can go anywhere right now and, you know, I say anywhere, but you know, like HEB, for instance, you know, Texans love HEB.
We love
Um,
HEB.
You know, they've got it though, right there. I mean, I could find an HEB
Right.
probably within 5-10 miles of this place and go start today, right now.
Yeah.
You know, or get 47 or what is it, 7,500 steps in. You know, that reduces. I don't quote me on the number. It's something like 75% of all the things we talk about, all the diseases, all of that.
Just by moving.
Just moving
Just
your
by
body.
moving, we're sedentary, we're
Mhm.
over, you know.
And motion is lotion, right? So I've got a poster in my
Absolutely.
office that says sitting is the new smoking. So that's
Yeah.
There
why
you go.
I give all of my patients a
Amen.
little wobble cushion. You
Yes.
have it.
Yes.
And hopefully you use it.
Uh-huh.
So just to keep motion in your
Yeah.
spine all day,
Yeah.
because that keeps the joint nutrients flowing. And what Josh was saying too, you know, there's a doctor, I want to say Mark Furman, and he says the anti-cancer diet. He was a medical doctor turned to nutrition, and he says the anti-cancer diet is greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds. So G bombs.
all the antioxidants.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Free radical killers.
Yep.
So
Free
our
radical
bodies
gas.
need those things.
You know, and I think as the other side of the coin that a lot of people have dealt with, and that I was very fortunate that I had the ability, thank you, my honey, for allowing me to invest in myself, right? And to work with a naturopath doctor and to go through her program. And of course, part of that included getting the right kind of food, because I did a food sensitivity test and all of those things. Well, that costs money.
Yep.
And one of the things that I am incredibly excited about, which again had me doing cartwheels, is the fact that when this starts to transition, we will start seeing that there will be room for more holistic type options and
Yes.
potentially more options for people to have access to at a much more affordable rate, some of those types of foods that you're referring to. Because one of the things that I think is a hiccup for a lot of people, you think of a family, average family of 4. You guys are a family of 4, yeah? And we're a family of 4 sometimes. Bunch of animals, but yeah. But is that, quote unquote, it's cheaper to eat unhealthy than it is to eat healthy. But we've also got to expand our thinking around this a little bit, right? And talk about the cost of poor health. So I know you have a thought there.
Well, first of all, I would say that's not always true.
Right.
To be honest, I posted a picture of an organic breakfast one morning with organic cage-free eggs. And I think I had maybe like organic tomatoes and maybe some turkey bacon. I don't know, some organic cheese. And then I think like some chocolate almond milk or something like that. And my cousin commented and was like, oh, so that's what a $20 breakfast looks like. And I was like, actually, and I calculated it up and I was like, this meal was $2.47. So it's cheaper than eating at McDonald's.
Now,
And a heck of a lot healthier.
And here's the thing, we've become busy.
Yeah.
I was going to use a different word, maybe lazy.
These
But-
are designed to be convenient.
And
it's a
those are
perfect
designed
mashup
to
of-
be convenient. Yes, because I'm sure while it didn't cost you $20, it cost you time,
Yeah.
right? And Lego My Ego is $4.99, but it's a toaster in 2 minutes, right? But we've got to come to a place where we decide, okay, I'm going to prioritize my dollars and my time for me. And I'm worth
Well,
it.
because
Invest in yourself, like you
Yes.
were just talking about. I couldn't agree more.
Well,
There's not a better feeling than knowing that your mindset that drove you to make those decisions and act on those questions that you ask yourself, nobody can take that from you. You know, in a world where you're right, you're wrong, you're, you know, all these things, if you can be still and know, you know, that what you're doing is for the right reasons, and that you're receiving back of that, you know, a healthy, happy, you know, disposition. And I mean, in my
and
opinion,
a
that's
longer, better quality of life.
Sure.
So I was talking
that's
with a
where you make the
patient.
change, you know,
You-
that's how you
Yeah, you have to prioritize it to make that change. You have to
Be the
see it in the right
change.
way. If you spend the time and the money now, then you're going to spend a whole heck of a lot less than if you wait for the house to burn down and then try to rebuild it. right? So you have to do what it takes now to invest in your health. And then you'll actually have life for longer.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of the other mindsets that I believe we're conditioned with is health insurance, right? And our health insurance dictates our health care, by the way. We think we do, but truly our insurance policies do. I remember there was a time that Royal thinks I was crazy. I probably was. His lung collapsed and it was a hard thing. And I was like, we already met our deductible. Let's have another baby. Yeah, that's fun. And in that time,
Wow.
in that time, I was like, look, my insurance will cover a tubal reversal. So let's go get that done. And the insurance company spent about 2 months. We lost our window, boohoo. But truly, our insurance policies and what we pay somebody else to do dictates what we get to do. And we have the power to say, no, thank you. Like we can be stewards over that, but it does take discipline. It does take time. It does mean that you get with the right insurance companies. And I'm not saying all insurance is bad, although that's my biggest expense in the world that I probably despise the most. However, it is, and it dictates our health care.
But it shouldn't, right? Like if somebody comes into my office, then I tell them I'm not giving you recommendations based on what your insurance covers. I'm giving you recommendations based on what your body needs.
So here's where the hope comes in, though.
Yeah.
This is what has me so excited because as we start seeing a transition, and I know that I have friends and people that are probably watching and they're like, I can't believe they put that dude on the TV because they don't understand a lot of the things, because a lot of what we're told and we believe it. We've talked about that already. We've been told something, we've been told it again. And there's a lot of feelings and fears out there about what this new administration can be doing that limits healthcare. But I'm going to myth bust that and say it's going to take the lid off of our healthcare. It's going to give us options that we've never had before. And we've maybe had some golden handcuffs, but those are about to be unleashed. And that's what gets me so excited, so that my health insurance no longer says you can only see a MD that's only going to give you, that particular migraine medication. No, now maybe I'll have a chance to go see my chiropractor. And oh, by the way, the same dollars could pay for that.
Well, yeah. So I want to share something that RFK just shared, I think this week. He said, FDA's war on public health is about to end. This includes its aggressive suppression of psychedelics, peptides, stem cells, which my patients get and have benefited from greatly, but is not covered by Medicare. So a lot of them don't get it. Sure. Raw milk, hyperbaric therapies, chelating compounds, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, vitamins, clean foods, sunshine, exercise, nutraceuticals, and anything else that advances human health and can't be patented by pharma. Mm-hmm. So that also includes ozone therapy, thermography,
as opposed to what's the opposite of thermography? I mean, the other solution. Thank you. And what does that create?
Radiation and compression of the tissue, which can spread cancer. So I'm a big fan of thermography. We have right now until the end of the year, Austin Thermography is still in our office. So if you want to come in and get checked, do it. But he said at the end of that too, if you work for the FDA and are a part of this corrupt system, I have 2 messages for you. 1, preserve your records, and 2, pack your bags. And I loved it. I was so excited because if he's going to give the people what they want, which is more actual health care, not just treating symptoms, that's life-changing. That's
Absolutely.
A game changer.
That's a game changer. Yes.
I mean, ozone therapy. I was at CHARM, the Center for Healing and Regenerative Medicine, where I refer to very often. They use ozone. My dentist uses ozone, but it's widely used across the world to clean out infections and to help discs and things like that. And yet it's not approved here by the FDA. Mm-hmm. And neither, vitamins. I tell my patients that vitamins aren't regulated by the FDA, which is a good and a bad thing.
Sure.
The the good thing is we know they're corrupt, so we don't really want their hands in it. But the bad thing is that there's a lot of crap on the market that
Right.
doesn't have in it what it says it's supposed to have, right? So there's a lot of crap on the shelves. So I tell my patients, when you're looking at supplements, try to get organic, get whole food based, not isolated, not synthetic, and you want it from an FDA approved facility, because the FDA will go in and say that yes, whatever they said is here in this bottle is actually in this
They'll
bottle.
measure
And
it.
that's a
Yeah.
helpful thing, right?
Mhm. I love that. I love that quote too. Yes, we're like bumping in the air.
Yes.
But I think there's misconceptions all over the place. And what we wanted to talk about tonight really is the excitement, the opportunity for hope for the health of ourselves, for our families, our future generations. We didn't really talk much about this, but obviously, if we're dealing with this, until this shift happens, the scale is going to continue to go like that. The numbers are going to continue to escalate. We're going to start seeing our children getting sicker and sicker until something is done. And now we get to be the stewards over it. Knowledge is power, as Josh talked about. We get to tune in and cut off the distractions and say, okay, my health is important to me for the sake of my future, for the sake of my children's future, for the sake of my grandchildren. Oh, and maybe I want to see them grow up as well.
Yeah.
There's so much at stake. And really, the gift and the call and the plan and the purpose that God put on our lives is dependent upon our ability to get up and do the work that He's called us to.
Yes. Amen. And RFK Jr. said, for 19 years, I have prayed daily for the opportunity to end the chronic disease epidemic and restore health to our children.
Mm.
And I thought that was so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And he started as an environmental lawyer, and he didn't intend to get into healthcare, but
Yeah.
this is where God brought him, and this is where we think God can use him.
Absolutely.
And I think it speaks volumes to realize that his whole mission is around this informed consent about your health, and not just continuing with the narrative that has gotten us to where we're at with all these statistics. Like, I was thinking too earlier, what we were talking about, it reminded me, people should check out Cali Means. Just Google the guy and put in about FSA and HSA, because a lot of people don't realize you can spend your non-tax dollars to get a prescription to the gym instead of a prescription for, statins or, these other things that keep you on that pharma treadmill. And I feel like that's huge, that there's somebody that's trying to tell you, you can learn about food so you can get put on a diet that will help you, reverse all of these things. I mean, what's 11 months to commit to your future, and then just being informed enough to be in pursuit of, hey, doc, let's look at, a gym membership and a diet plan, which is very, so much of what Brittany does. But when the people realize that if you can take this information and act on it, I mean, I don't know how much more hopeful and grateful a person could be than to realize that there are options out there. I mean, we all, like you were saying earlier, kind of an autopilot, reach for the egos and,
Right.
do your thing. But just the
And they
fact
blame it on our genetics.
but
Yeah.
just the fact that is an option, there are so many different options that aren't talked about. And so that's what's exciting, in my opinion, is to have, a whole rally of people. I mean, even Elon Musk, love him or hate him, but to put him in charge of government efficiency programs. I mean, that's what all of this, in my opinion, boils down to. 95% of people in the USDA who set food guidelines have a conflict of interest within the other organizations that are telling us this is safe and this is where we should spend our money. And
yeah, and that shouldn't even be happening.
No.
Yeah.
And we know about epigenetics, that you can lock or unlock certain things on your genes based on the lifestyle and the environment in your body. So you
Right.
can take control of these things.
Well, hang on. You say we know about it.
Mm.
You know about it.
I know.
Why don't you explain it?
Well, you can lock or unlock certain things. If your mom had breast cancer, that doesn't mean that you have to get breast cancer. It doesn't mean that you have to bravely cut off your breast tissue. It means that you need to do whatever it takes to get more oxygen, to be fit, and to
Right.
have lean muscle mass. You need to eat the right organic, nutrient dense food. You need to take care of your nervous system and try to stay away from toxins and have
Mhm.
healthy relationships. And those things will keep your body from developing cancer.
Those predisposed things. So my one of the phrases that I picked up over the years of health being a pillar number 5 is that our genes are the loaded gun, but our diet pulls the trigger.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
And I mean, to look at on a cellular, level too, if you're eating organic anything virtually at this point, like starting somewhere, it's more nutrient dense. And so you're giving your cells what they need. Our cells are designed to handle a certain amount of the chemicals and the
Sure.
the sugars and those sorts of things. It's the synergistic effect of not being aware of what you're taking in gives you less of a chance for your on a cellular level for your body to be able to process that
Well, because
stuff.
your toxic load, it all adds up.
Mhm.
And
Yeah. I jokingly said no chocolate cake. Well, I'm actually in a program right now that I'm not allowed to have chocolate cake, but you can get organic ingredients and make a organic chocolate cake.
Yeah.
There's things that we can do to still, like you said, make sure that you're putting the right nutrient rich ingredients in us
Yeah.
and still make it fun. Like, I think a lot of people are like, I don't want to be like a rabbit. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
you're
You
gonna
don't.
be by default, you're going to be suffering from a chronic disease and probably have Alzheimer's. I
But
mean, those
more,
rates are through the roof right now.
Mm.
Alzheimer's, cancer, kidney disease. I mean, you name it. In 2024, right now, as we sit here, are the highest they've ever been.
because too
Ever.
many people are counting calories instead of counting ingredients. So I made it was a banana cake with banana and some organic chocolate chips and I think it had an egg and baking soda. That was it. And so that was like a nutrient dense piece of cake that I could eat. I've made stuff with almond flour. Like, you can still have treats,
Mhm.
but again, you just want to be aware of what you're exposing yourself to so that you can literally pick your poison. Because, our personal care products, like I tell my patients, you want to cut out the fluoride, which is what RFK is talking about, pulling out of the water. So cut out the fluoride from your toothpaste, cut out the aluminum from your deodorant. I like using Beauty Counter makeup products because they're the only company that I know of that has lobbied to make changes in our beauty standards to remove. Now we have 11 different chemicals that are banned in our personal care products
Right.
versus 1,300 in the EU, by the way.
Wow.
So we want to be aware of these toxins, the heavy metals that we're exposed to. But what if we didn't have to be aware? What if we didn't have to worry about the grocery store poisoning us every time we walked in because our food was already clean like it is in the EU? Wouldn't that be great?
Mm.
Because then you have more time to do other things because your mind is freed up from having to take the time to look at the label and see, can I have this? Can I not?
Well, I know there's one thing in the store that has no label on it.
What's that?
The produce aisle.
Yeah.
Amen.
You're exactly right. Absolutely.
And usually the butcher, right?
Well,
Beef.
and a lot of talk about industry and money and all that. The fastest growing industry in the US is the healthcare industry. I mean, let that sink in on you. And then
Right.
couple that with the fact that back to HEB, you can find anything that you were looking for within reason or HEB organic. It's
Right.
affordable, it's available. I mean,
Yeah.
there is hope because there's 5 biomarkers: HDL, triglycerides, blood sugar, blood pressure, and your waistline, the visceral
The visceral fat.
fat. So, and And then I would say couple that with, if you started today in 11 months, going by the organic, what we were discussing, fruits, vegetables, beans, legumes, grass-fed cheese and meats, you can take that back. And that whole show me your friends, I'll show you your future type thing. I think to normalize this, and for me, how much more normal can it be that someone like RFK finally has a platform on which to educate and to give informed consent and to, push back to your insurance. And I mean, it's our God-given right to pursue these things, and it's on the table. I mean, it is. It's not stacked against. It is stacked against you, but to the degree that your posture of belief would dictate your actions upon learning this, I think that's extremely hopeful. That's extremely motivating.
And shouldn't our Secretary of Health and Human Services look healthy? My gosh.
The embodiment of it.
Yeah.
I hope I look like him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's 70 and he looks great. So I want to just share for people who don't know like what his background is. So again, he was a Democrat. He was an environmental lawyer. He sued companies like General Electric to prevent them from dumping PCBs into the Hudson River. He won hundreds of millions for plaintiffs suing Monsanto.
I want to interject one thing right there. For those that think that there's not credibility there, or that Monsanto is some kind of... Monsanto released the Monsanto Papers, where they literally ghost wrote studies to say that glyphosate was safe, while merging with Bayer, who makes the cure for the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma that glyphosate creates. So as far as credibility goes, I would feel remiss if I didn't interject that.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you did. Yeah.
He was instrumental in the Clean Air Act, reducing mercury and toxic pollutants in the air. He sued companies for polluting river water with coal as part of the Waterkeeper Alliance. He protected indigenous lands and communities. He sued the FCC to update wireless radiation guidelines, which I don't know if people are aware that, the Bluetooth things, I don't wear an Apple Watch. I don't wear Bluetooth headphones because there is radiation that we get from our Apple products. I remember looking at my phone because I didn't really believe it initially. And I like a nerd, opened up my little booklet that came with my phone, and it talked about how it does give off a certain level of radiation.
Wow.
That's why your cell phone shuts off when it gets too hot, because it's too much radiation at once. But we are getting small doses of radiation. That's why I try not to put my cell phone in my pocket and not keep it on me. A lot of people will put it in another room when they're sleeping.
Even Steve Jobs, I mean, he gave us a pretty incredible, invention and creation, but even look into his struggles with
Health.
With health and cancer, and with his own product, and by his own admission, worried about his kids being around it.
Wow.
So RFK, just a few more things. He sued the EPA to ban chlorpyrifos, a toxic pesticide. I'm not sure if I said that correctly, but and he's bringing public awareness to the danger of the 5G rollout. And he wrote The Real Anthony Fauci, by the way.
Yeah.
An interesting fact that I saw recently was that in the last 2 years, we've had the same amount of athletes die of cardiac arrest as we did the prior 38 years combined. So, just a little side note on that.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about what Trump has asked RFK to do specifically.
Yeah. Yes.
So there are 3 things. He's asked him to clean up the corruption in our government health agencies, so the HHS, the NIH, and the FDA. He's asked him to return those agencies to their rich tradition of the gold standard evidence-based science. And thirdly, to make America healthy again by ending the chronic disease epidemic. And he said that he wants RFK Jr. to give him measurable changes in our children's health within 2 years. He said he wants to see a difference. So he's going to do that. The Make America Healthy Again has 9 things that they want to accomplish. One of those is to stop the GMO subsidies.
Yes.
Yay. We don't want that. Other countries don't want our GMOs. That's been a fight.
No, and if we spent that same amount of money on pushing organic anything, we would not be in the situation we're in.
Absolutely.
Shriner01@gmail.com if you have any kind of evidence refuting that.
Yeah.
And
great.
then stopping pharmaceutical advertising, which we already talked about, removing fluoride from our water, encouraging medical freedom, prescribing.
That's what I'm happy about.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
It is my
Informed
choice.
consent.
Prescribing lifestyle changes. And so, like, why were the gyms closed? Why didn't anybody talk about, getting
parks
adjusted? The
closed.
parks were closed. The gyms were closed. We weren't supposed to go outside. If it was about health, they would have, told us what to do
Your
and to
immune
build their immune system.
Yeah.
Which things have changed drastically in the last 100 years. Did you know that in 1925, the CDC actually set up a chiropractic hospital during the Spanish flu? A chiropractic hospital, because
Wow.
we had lower mortality rates,
Sure.
lower death rates from the flu. And I saw that during COVID.
Because they had the
Mhm.
healing non-inhibited.
It
Yeah.
enhances your immune function. Every chiropractic adjustment increases interleukin 2, which is something that they inject into cancer patients to enhance immune system. So they set up chiropractic hospitals. During COVID, I didn't lose a patient to COVID. I had in my group of Society of Chiropractic Masters, we had 8 doctors, and we were still seeing patients. I did it without a staff. I had everybody use Thieves, if you're familiar with Young Living, to hand sanitize. So we never had a spread of COVID in our office. We had one doctor that lost one patient in that first year. And that was somebody that already had some pretty severe, pre-existing issues. But my patients kept coming in telling me that they were, the comorbidities. The patients came in telling me that their spouses that weren't getting adjusted were in the hospital and they were really sick, but they were COVID positive, but didn't have any symptoms. And we saw that over and over and over and over again. And I've heard it even the last, couple of years when people are around their family members and everybody got sick, but they didn't, or they bounced back really quickly.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, fast food chains were open, the liquor store was open, you couldn't go to the gym, you couldn't go to parks, they didn't want you getting sunshine.
Right.
I would just if that's any
isolation
kind of
alone, also
Yeah.
fed into the emotional and mental health issues, which increases the physical health issues.
Well, not to mention the news, right?
Sure. Oh, yeah.
The news and
Yeah.
that cortisol
fever is a
spike,
low vibration.
right?
Right.
They want us to be fearful. So I read my news. I don't know if you've ever read The Pour Over. It's actually it's a newsletter that's that's bipartisan, and it sprinkles a little bit of Jesus in there. So it tells you what's going on in the world, and then it gives you a Bible verse about it.
Oh, cool.
So
Yeah.
that's my favorite little way to get the news. But a few more things that Make America Healthy Again is setting out to do is getting rid of concentrated animal feeding operations.
Nice.
Because we know that if we're eating meat that's sick and we are what we eat,
Right.
that's a problem.
Absolutely. Or the hormones. Did they talk about that?
Absolutely. Supporting local farms. And like I said, they already put a regenerative farmer, Joel Salatin, in an FDA position, which I'm super excited about. They are setting out to remove harmful ingredients, especially endocrine disruptors such as seed oils, glyphosate, atrazine, tartrazine and atrazine, right, are two different ones. Red 40, yellow 5, that one's the tartrazine, in cosmetics and lipsticks, which cause tumors, asthma, developmental delays, neurological damage, ADD, ADHD, hormone disruption, gene damage, anxiety, depression, and intestinal injuries. And then increasing food freedom, specifically with raw milk.
Wow. He's got a big job to do.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
He wants to put taking out the seed oils in the fast food restaurants. He wants to replace that with beef tallow,
Okay.
which is a healthy source of fat.
Wow. Well, he's got a big agenda and a lot of things, and it sounds like some accountability, expectations around it. And I am so excited. I'm so excited about so many of those things that are out there. But what I am even more excited about is the opportunity that we have to just even be on this talk tonight, to be able to share hope and to be able to give tangible things. And Josh, I love the 11 months. Like, seriously, you could change your life
Absolutely.
in 11 months, not just become a healthier blueprint of yourself, but literally those disciplines. Because when you do something like that for 11 months, you're not just changing your diet. You're literally changing everything about yourself, about what you believe now about the food that you're putting in your body. And once you believe something and you know something to be fact, people can no longer brainwash you on it. Like, you know it to be true, right? So now there's that piece of it. And then the next layer of it is the disciplined piece. One of the reasons that we're dealing with a lot of this chronic stuff, and the reason that we can go get a Lego My Ego instead of, the stuff and make our own Egos, is the lack of discipline that a lot of us have created for ourselves. And it's a combination of so many things, of time, of lack of resources for whatever reason. But when we make a commitment, I was talking to Coach Jamie earlier, and she says, make a commitment to yourself and then hold yourself true to what you promised yourself you're going to do. Right.
That's
And
huge.
it's the most powerful thing, in my opinion, that an individual can do, is to hold yourself accountable. And I mean, it all starts with wanting to pursue something different.
Mhm.
And so if you can get informed about those things, and you know that A, B, C eventually will lead you to X, Y, Z,
Right.
and change, the course of your life, then it is a hopeful thing, and people will see that, and as that spreads and becomes the new norm,
Mhm.
we're sitting in a great position to change the course of, American history, in my opinion. I mean,
And our history.
where
And when you
else
think
are we
about
going?
history, it's,
know?
history is broken 2 words: his story. It's our story.
Absolutely.
It's our story, and we get to write it. And it doesn't matter what the pages were before. It doesn't matter if, we're like, well, I've been told this up to today. Well, you know better, you do better. Right.
Can I
Sure.
also say that we are so stressed in today's society? And when our cortisol levels are high, when we're stressed out, then we actually crave quick sources of energy. We're craving these ultra processed foods. It's important to know that, because if you're given a cancer diagnosis, cancer cells have 8 times more receptors for sugar than normal cells, but that's what we're craving when we're stressed out. Right. So if we're go, we're craving these quick sources of energy. It also shuts down our ability to make good decisions. We're making, quick, just, reactive decisions, right?
Your
We're in our
brain is-
reptilian brain.
Your brain is 2% of your body weight, but it uses 20% of your body's energy. So
Right.
take that into account, when you're thinking about how you're fueling.
Well, and my point is, you have to know that so that you can plan for it. So you can be like, you know what? I know that I'm going to be busy this week. I know I'm going to be stressed out. So I'm going to plan to succeed. I've got my workouts on my calendar. I've got my adjustments on my schedule. I'm going to the grocery store on this day and going to meal prep so that I have what I need to win this week and to be healthier this week and today than I was yesterday.
Mm-hmm. I love that. It's working with intention.
Yeah.
And we deserve it.
Yeah.
And we're worth it. And the future of our family is worth it. When I think about my healing journey, and anybody's healing journey, is we don't heal for the sake of our past. We heal for the sake of our future.
Absolutely.
So that we can be the best version of ourselves. And one of our themes for Unbreakable is taking back our power. And that's exactly what we have the ability to do. But we take it back. We don't wait for somebody else to do it. Now, I am beyond excited, still doing cartwheels, about this support that we have to take back our power. And that just makes it a little less effort, right?
Yeah.
But we still are the stewards. We
Yeah.
were called to be the stewards of our mind, our will, our emotions, and our body, and our physical space, all of it, right? So we get to do it.
Yeah. And we have to take responsibility for knowing these things. Knowledge is power. And
Mhm.
so once we know better, we got to do better.
Yep. Well, was there anything else you want to add? I know that we've covered so much tonight.
I know.
And there's a lot of technical terms, and that's fine. You guys go back and research some of that stuff. We are going to post the video, this YouTube video that everybody can go back and watch RFK Jr. and see more, because there was so much power pumped into this little 5-minute video. And of course, if you want to send me any of those tags, Josh, on some of those other references about, getting healthy and getting the prescription for better eating and gym memberships and things like that, take that now. Don't wait, right? Whatever we have access to now, let's take advantage of now. And in 11 months from now, before Thanksgiving of next year, what if you could be a whole new you? Why do we have to wait till January 1? We can do it now.
Yeah, we can start implementing these things that they want to do to make America healthy again. I like that Trump said, I just want to kind of end with one of his quotes. He said, "For too long, Americans have been crushed by the industrial food complex and drug companies who have engaged in deception, misinformation, and disinformation when it comes to public health. The safety and health of all Americans is the most important role of any administration, and the Health and Human Services will play a big role in helping ensure that everybody will be protected from harmful chemicals, pollutants, pesticides, pharmaceutical products, and food additives that have contributed to the overwhelming health crisis in this country. Mr. Kennedy will restore these agencies to the traditions of gold standard scientific research and beacons of transparency to end the chronic disease epidemic and to make America great and healthy again."
I love it. I love it. Well,
It's time.
if it doesn't give you hope,
It's time.
I don't know what will.
Yeah.
Hope for the health of our nation. So thank you both for being here with us tonight. It was a pleasure. And I'm excited to go on this journey with you guys and see what it looks like in the next couple of months. So happy Thanksgiving, and thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much for
Thank you
having
for having
us.
us.
You're welcome.
God bless.
You too.